my name's Emma. Today we are talking about transmedia storytelling, NFTs, how do we interact with that already on an everyday basis, and how is our life going to shift drastically within the next 20, 30, 40 years, and especially as we transition into being even more immersed on the internet than we already are. I know it's hard to believe, but we will be. When it comes to choices and decisions, the ones that we make with more intention will help us create the world that we want to live in. So what we talk about here on this channel is how can we take lessons that exist all around us and bring them into our own lives to create the life that we want. Transmedia storytelling is something that we interact with every single day, but you may not even realize that that's what it is. And at the base of everything, humans are storytellers. That is what we do. We are telling stories. We are expressing who we are through the conversations that we're having. That is how we build our lives. That's how we build relationships. That's how we understand the world around us, is through talking, communicating, and storytelling is at the basis and has always been. That is really the cornerstone of civilization, is storytelling. And now we are creating a new form of storytelling and have so been for the past 50 years. You've interacted with transmedia storytelling through Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, Harry Potter, Pokemon, all of these different universes that have been created where it seems almost abstract, right? You're saying, well, none of those storylines are real. But they have become real, haven't they? Because we get to interact with them and we get to become a part of those storylines. And that is the difference between traditional storytelling and transmedia storytelling, is how much we get to now become part of the story. And I know all of us have seen it, where if there is a show that is doing really, really well, but it veers off the course that the fans believe it should be going, it falls apart and people believe that it ruins it completely. For example, Game of Thrones. Everybody loved the first 6 seasons, and as people became even more entrenched in the storyline and they had a belief of how the storyline should continue to move forward, and as it deviated because of the decisions the writers made, Game of Thrones quickly fell in rank. People switched how they were talking about it. It was no longer a point of interest and love, it was disappointment. And it becomes very clear how much the opinions and the influence of an audience actually does affect the storyline, which is another big thing is that we talk about, is the way you view the world affects the way the world is perceived. And especially if we get to become part of the storytelling, we are changing the outcome of that story. And that really is what transmedia is. It's not just using different medium to project and move the story forward, but it's the addition of the audience into the storyline that projects it forward. Harry Potter had released its final movie over 10 years ago, but the story has not stopped. There has been a new franchise of movies that has come out. There has been Universal Studios entire sections dedicated to Harry Potter, Butterbeer, and all of these different things. You become a character in Harry Potter if you put on a cloak, if you buy a wand. And who would have imagined that you get to become a wizard or a witch? And that is the world that we live in. That is the world that we have created through this integration of technology into our lives. And it is not going away anytime soon. And what we have to do is really begin to understand how it is going to change by seeing what has already changed. The other day, I was driving around and I saw a movie theater that's been open since 1950 is finally closing its doors. And it is because we are shifting towards a new era of consuming technology, of consuming entertainment, and of the way we approach entertainment. It has completely shifted and changed. We're no longer just watching a movie on the big screen and going home and going about the rest of our lives. We're going to watch the Marvel movie, and then we get to go online and talk about it. We get to play a video game. We get to dress up as the characters and go to Comic-Con. We get to watch YouTubers who dedicate their entire lives opening different collections that are created based off of these movies. We've completely transformed the way we interact with entertainment because we have a stake in the storyline, because we are now part of it. And because of that, we have changed the game. We have changed what storytelling means as humans fundamentally. We are fundamentally now a part of the storyline. Oftentimes when somebody tells you a story, that's really it. It's just an exchange, and then we move on about our lives. But now the stories that we see, we get to become a part of in ways that we could never before. And that is what NFTs are allowing us to do even more. Not only are we going to become part of the storyline, but we're going to be creating them firsthand. We're not going to have to filter it through a production company, through a recording studio. We get to become the designers and the artists of these different pieces of art through NFTs. And that's really the world we've been stepping into anyway. That is what YouTube has allowed. That is what different platforms have allowed. Netflix changed the game when they created a space where you could watch pretty much anything, but they still are the sole distributors of this technology, of these different movies and shows, and they get to decide and call the shots. You can make a movie, you can't. We're going to cast you, we're not going to cast you. But now, how much access we have to cameras, to production equipment, to editing equipment, we can create pretty good feature films in our own homes if we wanted to do so. And many times that is what indie films are, and they are becoming more and more accredited. We saw this past year and the past few years, the Oscars have not had as good of a reception as they usually have. We are no longer catering to what random people who decided you have talent and you don't actually are saying. And we're no longer valuing their opinions as much as we once did. And we're going to step further and further from that. And we're going to be able to value our own opinions, because recording studios and publishing houses are no longer the gatekeepers of who can produce music and who can become authors. This is going to expand in various ways, and NFTs are going to disrupt the way Netflix, Hulu, and HBO work, because they are currently the gatekeepers of who can have their shows and movies and who can be in them on their platforms. But if we all are going to be able to create our own feature films, we're all going to be able to create our own books, we can go and publish, we can go and create, and no one's stopping us. If you want to post on YouTube, if you want to post on Instagram, there is nobody stopping you. There's nobody keeping you from creating except for yourself. And that is the really exciting thing about NFTs, about transmedia storytelling, is you get to integrate and you get to interpret the storyline in whatever way you want. If there's a specific superhero in Marvel that you love, you don't have to even pretend that the other ones exist. You can follow that one, you can dress up as that one, you can do whatever you want. There's no one telling you what you can and cannot do, which is why movie theaters are beginning to shut down, because they're saying which movies you can watch and when you can watch it. And we've had so much control over that why would we allow somebody else to now have that control over a decision that we can make constantly? I can watch any show or movie on Netflix, on HBO, and all of these different platforms whenever I want. Going to a movie theater and having to sit there for 2.5 hours because if I come 20 minutes late, I'm going to miss half the movie, is just not something that we can even begin to understand anymore. And the way the world is changing, this is going to become the norm more and more often. And that is something that we are able to do. We're getting to take control of our storylines because we're part of the storylines. And soon enough, as NFTs begin to expand and this huge bubble bursts and people start to realize its actual potential, we're going to see people be able to create their art and actually be in full control of their art, meaning that they get to create the art that they actually want, and we're going to see so much art come out that is really reflecting what we want to be seeing, because it's no longer controlled by 20 people who decided yes or no. Everyone gets to be the decision maker, and that way everyone gets an input on what is good and what is not just 30 people in a room that nobody knows who their names are. And that is really the world of NFTs, transmedia storytelling, that we're stepping into, and we've already seen the transition. This is why movie theaters are going away, why traditional TV is moving away, and soon enough, Netflix, Amazon, HBO, they're all going to be removed, and the people who are creating this art are going to have the ability to create their own shows and to create at levels that nobody else has been allowed to, because there was so much gatekeeping. And until we realize this and accept this, we're going to try and hold back the potential that we have, but it's going to move forward regardless of if we like it or not. So explore more into the worlds that you do like. How are you adding to the stories? What kind of stories do you want to see? What stories are being created and pushed along? And how are the people creating those stories? How are the audiences influencing it? And I'm sure that you've seen it yourself. So I hope you got something out of today's video. We will talk soon, but until then, have an amazing day.